What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's your boy Ernie, the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, we're going to be talking about the Absolute Batman series. We're going to be talking about the most recent issues, 9, 10, and 11, and some of the things that have been going on, and why everyone is talking about how the Absolute Batman has been broken by the Absolute Bane.
Can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
So here we are, we've got these most recent issues, and we finally delved into a little bit more about something that was hinted at and teased in the first, say, couple of issues of Absolute Batman, and that's Arc M. This is basically, for all intents and purposes, a underground version of Arkham Asylum by way of a more high-tech version of Arkham City. This is quite literally miles upon miles upon miles of Arkham, but underneath Gotham City. And very similarly to Arkham Asylum proper, it houses not the criminal minds of Gotham, but the experiments that are being perpetrated by what is presumably the Absolute Joker, or rather the people working for the Absolute Joker, who, while he has popped up in and out of the series, he's not really played much of a huge part, more of a behind-the-scenes, overarching villain than he is anything else. We actually get to see probably what I feel is the most of him in Absolute Batman thus far in its most recent issue. But yeah, what's going on here is that when Batman infiltrates Arc M, because at the end of the day, he's looking for one of his best friends, Wayland, who some of you might remember as the Killer Croc of the Prime Earth universe. And in this universe, if you're not already familiar, in the Absolute universe, Batman is actually best friends with most of the people who typically would make up his rogues gallery. They're not villains in this universe. They're just normal people. But people like Waylon Jones, aka Killer Croc, or people like Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, as well as Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. These are, all of them, childhood friends of Bruce Wayne. They're not villains, at least not yet. But in this particular regard, Wayland has gone missing and Batman is trying to track him down. That's how he winds up getting into Arc M. He was already looking for it, he was already investigating it, but the fact that Waylon Jones was captured and snatched off the street, no one seeing or hearing from him, this is what galvanizes Batman to maybe move the timeline up a little bit on infiltrating Arc M. Now, when he breaks into Arc M, it's here where he encounters the Absolute Bane. Now, this Bane, I'm gonna be honest with you, for all intents and purposes, is not really that different from the New Earth or Prime Earth continuity Bane. He's very similar in a lot of respects. I think if there's any one thing that changes about him, is that he's huge. Like, he's bigger than what we even typically associate with Bane proper. And not only is he huge, but he's also a far more gruesome and even more cunning specimen than Prime Earth Bane could ever hope to be. And that says a lot, considering that one of the big highlights of Bane is that for as huge of a person as he is, he's also Batman's intellectual equal in a lot of respects. And not only that, in this universe, not only is Bane a tough customer, not only is he a smooth talker, not only is he well-read on all of the classics, not only is he familiar with all the tactics and strategies that great strategic minds like Batman would even be familiar with, his Venom also has an extra added bonus. Under normal circumstances in the Prime Earth continuity of DC Comics, Venom doesn't make you smarter. It just makes you stronger. But in the Absolute universe, it actually makes Bane smarter. It makes him stronger too. It definitely increases his muscle mass and everything like that, like what you would expect. But it actually increases his intellect just as much as it increases his strength. One thing that's brought up is that he was already a pretty smart guy. Yeah, he was already intelligent. But what Venom did is it unlocked more of his brain capacity. He's now able to not just learn lots of things, but he's also able to retain all the things that he knows. It's actually stated that before there was only so much he could learn, but now suddenly he can hold books, whole libraries in his head. Every method of fighting he knows, every weapon he knows, every battle from ancient times to now, he knows, from the strategies of Sumerian warrior kings to the most current algorithmic doctrine. Now, I will say, there is one thing that does kind of take away from Absolute Bane, and I feel like it's not so bad because, I mean, once again, you kind of got to separate these things. I know what some people are probably thinking, well, wait, Bane could do all this stuff before. But now there's a bit more of a scientific reason as to why. Prime Earth Continuity Bane, he is as intelligent as Absolute Bane, I would imagine, but for completely different reasons. It's not the venom that makes him smarter, it's because he has an eidetic memory, which means anything he learns, he retains. He has a photographic memory. If he sees it, he learns it, he knows it, that's it. But in this case, instead of just having an eidetic memory, it's the venom that makes him that way. So while it does kind of take away a little bit of the, I think the importance or the, I guess, like the significance of, you know, how Bane came to this point, at the end of the day, I'm perfectly fine with it because ultimately there's very little else about these characters that's different. Prime Earth Continuity Bane and Absolute Bane have the exact same origin, minus maybe one or two little twists. In Prime Earth Continuity, just the same as in Absolute Continuity, Bane has been a prisoner since he was a child. He winds up spending all of his formative years in childhood in the Santa Prisca prison in Prime Earth Continuity, and no differently, it's the same in the Absolute Universe. The main difference, though, is that in Prime Earth Continuity, Bane's father, who, you know, was a revolutionary, he escaped the prison. And his son, Bane himself proper, was basically left to rot for roughly 17 years. And while in this particular case in the Absolute Universe, his father is also captured and has to live out that sentence with his son, with them both having to suffer the exact same consequences, being placed in a prison cell that flooded every single day, to where the time that Bane was not spending, you know, starving to death, he was literally having to either swim for his life or hang on to the sewer grates to keep himself above the water, even though it was just barely enough for him to be able to breathe. Having to do that for his entire life, to the point that before he actually undergoes any experimentation whatsoever, he is already absolutely positively jacked, to the point that he is able to literally crush his own father's body in a bear hug, literally turning him into a ragdoll of a man. And that's just how powerful Bane was before the fact. Now, having the venom, and all of this is literally linked to his direct access to Joker, because when he breaks out of Santa Prisca, he encounters Joker on the beach. And he and Joker have a conversation. We're never told exactly what it is that is said between the two, but whatever it was, it ultimately resulted in the death of Bane's own father. And from that moment on, Bane is effectively the Bane that we know him to be. I would actually say he's even more terrifying than what we might be used to seeing out of Bane. He is straight nightmares, honestly. Just the way that he is able to communicate with the people who he is working with and the people who he's fighting against, in this case Batman and some of his other assassination targets, it just makes you realize this guy he's serious. He's for real. This guy is the absolute real deal. Now, getting back to the Batman of it all, Batman himself, he gets captured, as I said earlier, by Bane, no less. But what ultimately comes out of all this is that while Bruce is captured, he is held in Arc M for 3 months, from June to August. And the time that he is trapped in Arc M, he is being experimented on, and in some very interesting ways. At first, these experiments are really not much more than just monitoring him and trying to dictate how he moves, like what his thought processes are, but also at the same time learning exactly how intricate the absolute Batman is in this universe. Case in point, and I actually had to make notes of this because these are some very interesting things. First off, And I want to say maybe it was revealed to be something a little bit different when we were initially introduced to Bruce Wayne as the absolute Batman. But yeah, it said that in this issue, he is 6'9" and 421 pounds.
That's a huge bitch.
Which, just for record's sake, is actually taller by 1 inch and heavier by at least 70, maybe 71 some odd pounds than the Bane of Prime Earth continuity.
Holy shit, it's Bigfoot!
Albeit, in Prime Earth continuity, whenever Bane is venomed up, he's typically somewhere in and around 420-ish, usually like 22, 23, 24, maybe even 25 pounds. So yeah, it kind of like, it makes you really put into perspective how big the absolute Batman is. Now, the reason why this is noteworthy and why these size changes are noteworthy is because initially, Batman in the Absolute Universe even, he was actually originally revealed to be shorter and not as heavy. He was originally announced as being like 6'6" and about roughly 250, some odd pounds, but apparently not anymore. As of Absolute Batman number 10, he is now listed as 6'9" and 421 pounds. God damn. Which, once again, that is still pretty big because even by Prime Earth continuity standards, Batman is usually not much more than like 6'2", 210, maybe some odd pounds, give or take, which is insane. Yeah, so this guy's like literally like doubled in weight, just about. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Point of the matter is, what we do learn about the absolute Batman is that just like Prime Earth continuity Batman, who usually keeps booby traps on his person, that way in case someone tries to like take off his mask or remove his costume, there's usually like taser traps in place that would basically disable anyone who was trying to unmask him. This isn't even just a movie thing, this is a thing that's in the comics as well. But we learn that there are also booby traps in the Absolute Universe, and it seems like his booby traps in the Absolute Universe are more numerous than his ones in the Prime Earth Universe. I think at one point it stated that the removal of his costume triggered a series of booby traps, numerous injuries incurred. So yeah, it's pretty wild to think about. And apparently he also not only keeps gadgets on his utility belt and spread throughout his costume, but apparently he keeps tons of objects hidden within his own body, which is also just wild. They said after multiple surgeries, staff is now confident all objects have been extracted. And they said that the items confiscated, and I'm assuming these are the ones that are from inside his body, is tear gas pellets, acid pellets, explosive pellets, sedative pellets, hallucinogenic pellets, a full lockpick kit, blow darts, finger blades, knuckle blades, toe blades, push daggers, trench daggers, various throwing shuriken, and one large spiked war club that is collapsible. I'm assuming these are all the ones that were in him, because they do literally say almost in the same panel that these are after surgeries.
Did you have fun?
Oh, yes, I did! Oh, yes, I did!
So yeah, that is wild. But yeah, Batman is now sharing space with some of his most infamous villains from Prime Earth continuity. While he is in Arkham, and he does make attempts at escape at least 3 times before we ultimately get to the end of Absolute Batman number 11, we do see at various points other characters are either mentioned or teased. There is a allusion to the character Dr. Death, who some of you may or may not be familiar with. There's also a transmutation and plastic ward, which is where we encounter the character Clayface. We also run into characters like Poison Ivy, though one could actually make a case that it's actually not Poison Ivy, it might be someone else, but I'm gonna go on the assumption that it is Poison Ivy. While the character itself is kind of stripped down and emaciated looking, so they don't really have as much of a feminine form, they are connected to the Green, but more in terms of being like zombified, like tree monster type characters or whatever. And then there is also Man-Bat, though we actually see a couple of different iterations of Dr. Langstrom. So it's that part's pretty interesting in and of itself too. And probably the most meme-ified character we saw in the Arc M setup was Killer Croc. Now, I said earlier that Waylon was captured. Well, he too was experimented on, and he was turned into the absolute Killer Croc, who is an absolute beast of a man who has like a body that makes no sense. Some of you may remember that in the Prime Earth continuity, Killer Croc can have a lot of different looks, depending on who's the artist at the time. Sometimes he looks more like just a big dude who has really scaly skin, but ultimately has a fairly, I won't say normal, but almost normal looking human face. And then other times he looks like an actual crocodile with like a big gaping maw and all that stuff. Well, in this universe, you actually get a little bit of both. He actually has like a almost more normal looking head, but that head and like the mouth that it's connected to, it's actually his mouth is his neck. His neck, like all of it just opens up to this massive maw of teeth. But at the end of the day, where his snout would be considered is where the head actually is. It's insane. This character design is wild. It is absolutely wild, and I'm 100% here for it. What's really cool about this is that in the midst of Batman trying to break in and out of Arc M and encountering his friend Waylon, it's here where the two characters allow themselves to become allies, because Waylon, despite the experimentations, he still has memory of Bruce, and by this particular point, they all, if I remember correctly, know that Bruce is Batman by now. By this particular point, Croc, Penguin, Riddler, Harvey, they all know. I think Selina might even know by this point. Though Selina is usually only talked about in flashbacks as opposed to present day. She has not really been popping up a lot, but she is about to make her debut very soon. Probably by the time this video even comes out, she will have made her presence known. Whatever happens with Waylon after this, we don't know, because while Killer Croc is largely responsible for helping Bruce break out of Arc M, once he gets out, we don't really see Killer Croc after that. Not to my understanding. When Bane and Batman start fighting each other once more, they are doing that shit low. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what's going on with Croc from here on out. But the level of craziness that's going on in Arc M is something that needs to be studied, because once again, in the entirety of the time that Bruce was in there, he's been experimented on in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And we even see after his second encounter with Bane, during an escape at least, not technically had two prior to that, but still it's a second escape attempt. During that second escape attempt, Bane absolutely destroys him. But you would think like, and well, it's definitely on a worse level than what happened to Batman in New Earth continuity at the time, getting his back broken.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
This is like infinitely worse. Batman is actually physically and visibly broken in issue 11. Not only having one arm chopped off with his patented bat symbol axe that he wears on his chest, that huge bat symbol that everyone was making fun of when the Absolute comics were initially announced, that symbol is an actual axe that he's able to connect to a hilt, and he can swing it just like it's a normal battle axe. Bane takes that from him and uses it to chop not one, but both of Batman's arms off. And not only chop his arms off, but also smash his face in. So Batman, as we know him in the Absolute Universe, is broken. But unlike in New Earth and Prime Earth, whatever continuity, Batman doesn't take a knee. He doesn't stay hidden away in the Batcave and Wayne Manor and letting some other superhero take up his mantle. No, that's not what he's doing, but he does something, and it has a look that I don't know if anyone's actually talked about this, but it's kind of vaguely similar in some respects. Not all respects, but in some respects. When we see Batman again after the multiple surgeries that take place to fix his now broken body, Batman comes back as what is effectively Bane. Like, we see him come back and we see like his huge frame, very similar to how he has looked in previous iterations of Absolute Batman, but I think here looking even more menacing because now you can see his body is entirely fused with Venom. You see spikes where normally his cape would have those spikes on it. We now see those spikes coming out of his shoulders. We see the green veins going down his arm. We see blades attached, blades and knives attached to his arm. He has all types of weapons and tactical gear attached to his person. And even has like a Venom a Venom mask on where he's got the skull just like Bane, but still has the bat ears. And yeah, it's pretty damn insane. It is actually pretty damn insane to see that this is now, for all intents and purposes, the new Absolute Batman. And I'm kind of here for it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that this look is not going to stick. I'm pretty sure all of this will probably ultimately get undone. Most likely. I would be shocked if it didn't. But the fact that, yeah, Bruce has quite literally been broken down to his basest parts and then rebuilt, not once, but actually twice, after having entered Arc M is insane. I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for it, though. I know a lot of people read some of this, oh, he's been completely destroyed, he's been killed. No, I mean, that is Batman there. That is Batman. And I think this is why people love the Absolute Universe. It's why I like the Absolute Universe, is that it's so different. It's similar, yes. There's lots of things that stay the same, but there's also just as many things that get changed. I think that's how you do like an alternate universe well. I think it's you going in to that universe saying, hey, what are the things that people love, and what are the things maybe people, I don't want to say don't like or don't love, but things people aren't quite as attached to. And let's mess with those things. And maybe even some of the things that people are attached to. But we're going to do them in a way that's just a little bit different. And, that way, you kind of have that familiarity, but also have something new at the same time. I'm here for it, but I don't know, man. You guys let me know what you think about the Absolute Bane. You let me know what you think about that. Very curious. Anyway,